having fewer investigators and inspectors will not protect workers from wage theft, misclassification, and dangerous working conditions. So how are you going to operate with less, even though we didn't even have enough to begin with?
Well, it depends on what the priorities are from the past administration, but in this
Are inspections not priorities?
They are priorities to protect the
But with
American
less
worker.
inspectors, you can't do investigations.
What we don't want to do is weaponize the use of those funding dollars against...
How is there weaponization if you are...
Did you catch that? That's what happens when political theater runs face first into actual governance. Ilhan Omar came in swinging with scary numbers, interruptions, and gotcha questions, trying to trap Secretary Chavez-DeRemer like it was audition night on cable news. But instead of panic, she got calm, facts, and competence. And that clearly wasn't in the script. The math wasn't matting, the narrative was collapsing, and the word weaponization hit like a brick. If you want to see how a Republican official dismantles fear-mongering without raising her voice, hit like, subscribe, and stay right here. Let's watch the full clip before I give you the full breakdown.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, for being here with us and watching the hearing earlier. I learned that you're also a former union member.
Well, my father was a Teamster.
Ah,
Yes.
okay. All right. I'm a former AFSCME member. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the child labor enforcement. In two appropriations hearings last month, you expressed a firm commitment to fighting illegal child labor. At the same time, your agency has decimated ILAP, including its work to prevent child labor. Your budget proposal will weaken a historically under-resourced wage and hour division. The nominee to be your solicitor of labor wrote a chapter in Project 2025, which literally calls for the rolling back of child labor laws. Madam Secretary, can you assure this committee that you will not propose any rollbacks of child labor rules that prevent children from being employed in hazardous occupations?
I commit to fighting against all child labor exploitation. Absolutely, in this country, we do not want to exploit our children. Consistent with putting the American worker first, the budget does streamline ILAB, that is one of the agency heads, agency departments that protect the American worker and protect against child labor violations. And the budget provides for about $70 million to ILAB, including $38 million in grant funding, while restoring ILAB's emphasis on putting the American worker first.
So that's a long way of you saying yes?
I will work absolutely to combat all child labor.
Wonderful. Many workers across the country will feel the impacts of your staffing and funding cuts to WHD and OSHA. As of May 2025, WHD employs just 611 investigators nationwide. This is the lowest number since at least 1973, even though there are nearly 10 times as many workers and businesses for them to cover. Your budget proposal cutting the office by $25 million, with staffing projected to fall. Your budget would also cut OSHA inspectors by over 12%, even though currently it will take 185 years to inspect every workplace just once. Madam Secretary, what is the plan to keep workers safe when you're slashing enforcement?
Yeah, no, thank you again. Again, one of the overall core missions is to protect the American worker, and that includes in the wage and hour division as well. And while we are streamlining and doing some cost saving for the American taxpayer, we will always be in compliance with our statutory requirements.
Well, that doesn't, Madam Secretary, if I can just interrupt for 1 second. At one point, DOJ was set to close 20 WHD field offices and 11 OSHA offices. If this is happening, how will this protect workers?
So the offices that we have been, that were originally proposed through GSA, we have worked with to bring them online. I don't think that that is a good use of the compliance issue, that we have to protect the American worker. And through the DRP, none of our essential workers, either through wage and hour, through OSHA, through MSHA, were able to take those because we know we need those investigators on the ground to protect the American worker, and I advocated for that.
Yeah, but having fewer investigators and inspectors will not protect workers from wage theft, misclassification, and dangerous working conditions. So how are you going to operate with less, even though we didn't even have enough to begin with?
Well, it depends on what the priorities are from the past administration, but in this
Are
administration...
inspections not priorities?
They are priorities to protect the
But with
American
less
worker.
inspectors, you can't do investigations.
What we don't want to do is weaponize the use of those funding dollars against...
How is there weaponization if it's going to take you 187 years to complete inspections and you're cutting the inspectors that are supposed to do those inspections? The math is not mathing.
Well, statutorily, we will protect the American worker. We did not have any of our investigators currently. We're not able to take the DRP in order so that they can be assigned to the job that they are required to do.
So are you saying that you're going to hire more investigators to do inspections?
What I'm saying is we did not allow our statutorily mandated offices that we need essential workers like our investigators through wage and hour, through MSHA, and through OSHA to take the DRP because they are essential to protecting the American worker in these industries. We can still cost save and do the job that we need to do.
So American workers can expect that you will expedite investigations to make sure that we are assuring their safety.
American workers can expect that the Department of Labor will protect the American worker, as that is a core mission of the Department of Labor.
Now that you've seen the whole exchange, let's say it plainly. Secretary Chavez-DeRemer ran circles around this entire line of questioning, and she did it without theatrics, without insults, and without falling into the Democrat trap. Ilhan Omar wasn't there to get answers. She was there to manufacture a headline. From the forced union small talk to the Project 2025 scare tactics, this was a setup from the jump. And it failed. The child labor angle was especially telling. Omar tried to tie the secretary to some imaginary rollback fantasy, and when Chavez-DeRemer clearly and unequivocally said she opposes child labor exploitation, Omar immediately dismissed it with that smug, so that's a long way of saying yes. That wasn't oversight, that was arrogance. The secretary was explaining how budgets actually work, how agencies function, and how efficiency matters. Omar just wanted a yes or no clip she could tweet. Then came the inspector numbers and the infamous 185 years line, delivered like a horror movie trailer. Here's the reality Democrats never want to admit. The federal government is drowning in debt, agencies are bloated, and throwing more money and more bureaucrats at problems hasn't magically fixed them. Chavez-DeRemer was making a grown-up argument, streamlining, prioritizing, and protecting essential workers so enforcement still happens without wasting taxpayer dollars. That's not cutting corners. That's governing. And then we got to the moment that really broke the script. Weaponization. When the secretary said she doesn't want funding weaponized, you could almost hear the gears grinding. Because that's exactly what Democrats rely on. Massive budgets and endless regulators to target industries, businesses, and employers they don't like. That's how you punish job creators without ever passing a law. Chavez-DeRemer shut that down. She made it clear, protect workers, yes, but don't turn the Department of Labor into a political weapon. Omar tried to paint a dystopia of unsafe workplaces and exploited children, but it was pure fear-mongering. Chavez-DeRemer offered something far more dangerous to Democrats: calm competence and fiscal responsibility. She proved you can protect workers, respect taxpayers, and not worship big government at the same time. Omar wanted a villain. What she got was a leader who understands that smarter government beats bigger government every single time.